in their reserves when they are in our country. Kellys, you can't tell me that gold is very capital intensive for you to mine. I will explain part of the interventions that we have in helping grow our reserves. For me, I'm looking at in future using our reserves to build sustainability, especially when I look at the farmers. When you look at FISIP, we've been with FISIP for a very long time. When is the government going to make sure that our citizens are self-reliant? Do we want to have a lazy country? We want individuals who can be empowered. At some point, they become self-reliant. They stand on their own. I'm sure, Bakunda, you have had this experience where your uncles in the village, every year they're asking you for money for fertilizer. Sometimes you ask, but last time I gave you. Now this year, after Magulisa, didn't you have enough money to keep something to buy your own fertilizer? So we need to transform that into the government responsibility. Should government be giving FISIP for 20 years to the same person? Are we helping? Are we not making that person lazy? So all these are things that we need to look at. Now, what does that entail? It entails that we need to build our reserves to a point whereby we can provide subsidies. When we provide subsidies, we are creating an opportunity for the people like the small-scale farmers, so that they are able to buy farming inputs at a reduced price. But we tell them, in our case, we'd love to tell them that, okay, maybe for 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, we agree. And when we agree that we are going to do this for 5 years or 7 years, then you have to be self-reliable, self-sustainable, so that then the government doesn't continue to give you that cheap fertilizer. Then the government, once it pulls out its subsidies, fertilizer will come back to 1,300. But let's say after all, these are issues that we need to look at. I'm looking at why don't we build our own reserves? The sad thing is that if you look at FIC report 2024, $3.5 billion left illicitly, largely coming from the mining sector. That's what FIC reported, that illicit funds left the country into Middle East and Asia. So we are losing quite a lot. What about if we got that money into our reserves? What about if we got that money and paid off our debt? So there's certain leakages that I think we have to seal, but that requires a responsible citizenry. For me, I'll use my military background, my aviation background, to be able to bring some bit of discipline into the people, so that you understand that it requires the discipline, it requires responsibility and accountability to build a country. I had a meeting last week with the European Union where I was telling them that I think you've helped us enough with the grants. Can you also help us with your systems that build wealth, jobs, and the infrastructure, schools, and everything? And also, just tell me how you manage to fight corruption in your countries at a level where they have developed. One thing that makes me sad, Kellys, is that we've learned to be so corrupt before getting developed. So that one impedes on our opportunity to develop. I would have loved that maybe we are developed, we've got most of the things in place, then we learn how to be corrupt. That way maybe the impact will be less. Yeah. But we've learned how to misuse public resources before getting developed. You see, we still need a lot of road network. When we talk about tourism right now, I've seen the UPN, they're saying they want 5 million tourists into the country. But then that will require a lot of investment. Part of the things that the Democratic Union wants to do is to open up these sites, especially in the northern region, where we build schools, to open up these tourism sites, so that investments can take itself there. We just need to build a road. Investors will go there. There's one person who was telling me that they went, I don't know whether it's Kalambo, one of the falls in the northern region, but then there was nowhere to sleep. They had to go back to town a long distance. So how do you encourage people to go and see these sites in our country?
Okay, I can actually see that you have a lot of alternatives to what EPND is doing. That very fact that they've achieved macroeconomic indicators and stabilize them doesn't mean that we've arrived. And I can see that you've got a lot more to say on that. But before we go into those details, let me just take you back to the fact that we are in the campaign season, and I can see, but I can see that you're calling me Kunda. I'm Kaunda.
Oh, Kaunda. Yeah.
And so let's refocus on the fact that we're in the campaign season.
Yes.
I'd like you to just share with us how the campaign has been, has been so far.
Okay.
Indicating to us as to your level of satisfaction in terms of the support that you're receiving, maybe the resources for your campaigns.
Yes.
And also just what the momentum looks like, on the ground. So generally, just share with us how the campaign, has been so far.
So far, I think maybe I'll comment general and then go to the DU's experience.
Yeah.
Generally, I think this year's campaigns have been a bit boring. There's been some silence. I think it's now that we're seeing some activity, because I'm wondering, even the ruling party has also delayed in going out in full force to do the campaigns. So it's something that we've never experienced before. But one thing that I'm happy about is that the violence, yes, I've seen pockets of violence, but it's not as much as we used to see in the past. I think the environment has somehow improved, and I think it's a good thing. We would love to see how it builds up as we go closer to the voting
Would that
time.
be as a result of the interventions that ECZ made recently? Because it would appear as though one of the sources of violence was that, supporters were clashing. But when ECZ intervened and said, listen, let's have a timetable, so that if you have one political party in this area, you're only going to be there for this period, then you move.
I
don't think that has helped to some extent.
I don't think so. One thing that I would love to connect it to is that if you look at the time the UPND, I like being factual, the UPND took office, Kadarism has reduced. Yes, I know there is some in the compounds where there's still some pockets of violence and all that. But at the national scale, the way it used to be before is not the way it is. I think citizens are now changing their attitude somehow to learn that I think violence does not pay. Especially that their president has been saying that if you are caught doing these things, you are on your own. So I think there's that change that is there. It's just unfortunate. I felt sad when they started fighting them amongst themselves in Southern Province. So for me, not that maybe largely because of ECZ interventions, but because of the environment that we are in right now. And also maybe because the no liquidity in the market has also contributed that people are not going out. But if you have also noticed that people are not playing campaign songs in their cars like we used to see in the past, where there's noise when you're passing cars like that, it's not happening that way. So maybe there could be other reasons as well. But one thing that makes me have sleepless nights, Kelly, is that there could be voter apathy. So for me, I've taken it upon myself to make sure that I try by all means to engage the young people, the youths. I fear so much that these people may not want to come and vote. So I'm offering myself to say, I'm offering a fresh start to the Zambians, a fresh opportunity, one of ideas, new ideas. So can they trust me as their fellow young leader, so that then together we can build this country? Because there's that fear. I had an experience when there was that voter registration where the voting is happening just behind where they are selling in the market in one of the compounds. But they refuse to go and register, say, we can't waste time, you politicians are just like that. So for me, it gives me chills. I said, this is a serious problem. And the young people, yes, we could have made some progress as a country in creating employment opportunities, but we are not there. Unemployment levels are still very high, and the youths are still affected. So they are the ones who are now making decisions to say, from this regime to this next regime, then it doesn't appear that we are receiving the support, or we are seeing our lives changing. So what is it that we are going to vote for? So these are the concerns that we have, some of us. And talking about Democratic Union's experience, I think the campaigns have been a bit slow, not as much as we would love to see the progress on the ground. Much of what we've done is to do door-to-door campaigns where we engage people or one-on-one. But would love maybe to do it at a large scale or engage in other strategies. The other challenge is that in certain areas we find that people expect you to have money, because the feeling with Zambians is that when they see you in politics, they think that you've got extra money that you've got nothing to use, you've got no use for. So you need to go and give them. And also the general perception is that people think that politicians are coming to pay you to sell their message, and that has been there. So would love the Zambians to change their attitude. You see, the sad thing about when politicians come and pay you, that means there's an obligation that is there, that is created. You don't even know where that money is coming from. Maybe they could have borrowed it from somewhere where they need to come and pay through a mine, or they need to come and pay in one or the other. Then when they fail to deliver, it's not because they have decided not to deliver. It's because you lumped on them an obligation which they never needed to carry.
That's why,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted you to maybe say a little more about,
Yes.
resources as a political party.
Yeah.
How are you getting resources up? There's goodwill out
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Just speak to that.
To that, okay. So the experience right now is that it's not really attractive. Most of the people out there are facing some form of economic challenge, what I call economic challenge. I know there's one person that approached some time back in January and said the business is very slow as though it's not an election year. So I think that has still continued even up to now. A lot of people, I think, still feel pressed. Like we mentioned earlier, we said the lack of liquidity in the economy is hampering everyone. So usually what happens is when you want to have liquidity in the economies, when government begins to pay its local contractors the debt that it has locally, then you find that the economy opens up, you've got this liquidity. So you find that most of the people are short of that. So you find the resources that are coming in piecemeal, not really to support a full-fledged campaign. So that's one thing that I think we're experiencing. I would love to make an appeal. If there are any good well-wishers who support our ideas, who think we've got a greater vision, can come forward and support us.
And in fact, talking about the vision,
yes.
What specific message are you taking out there that when I hear it, I would say, okay, that's Mr. Njovu's part.
Okay, so the first message that I have to the Zambians is that we are promising a fresh start. You agree with me that there's been tension in the country. If you've seen persecutions, whether they are persecutions or just prosecutions, the citizens have perceived them as persecutions. So first of all, we are promising a fresh start. We are promising healing for the country. When we promise that healing, then we will start we'll roll out our agenda of transformation. That is transforming the country. And the other thing that I think hasn't been right in the country is the issue of opportunities. When you go around the country, people sometimes say opportunities are not there for everyone. You have to be maybe affiliated to a party, or you have to be from a tribe and all that. Those are concerns that are there on the ground. So we'd love to make sure that opportunities are available for everyone. But my greater vision now for the country is that I would love to build this country to a state whereby we begin to export solutions out of this country. There's a lot that we have in this country. We need to start exporting solutions. For me, that's a greater vision. And the transformation journey of the Democratic Union is that we are going to set up what we are calling strategic corporations. These are simply public companies that we are going to set up in agriculture, in mining, in engineering and construction, as well as technology and innovation. So these will seek to address the bigger challenge that is faced by the young people, that is unemployment. When we create this and there's presence in all the 116 districts, I think enough employment opportunities will be created. If you look at our manifesto, our target is that we create up to 4 million jobs using this strategic cooperation, including the establishment of what we are calling the capital economic zone. So we want to change the face of this country to make sure that resources begin to work and benefit the communities. Kelly's, for me, right now, I think we are doing well in the mining sector, but the community feeling that doing well in the mining sector. Would love to see that communities, the roads are done, the projects such as the schools are there, coming from the resource that we are getting, the revenue we are getting from the mining sector. So with us, we are coming to introduce what we are calling the Chiefdom Development Fund. We are going to introduce a 2.5 levy, which we want to ensure that the provinces and the chiefdoms get a facelift. So we've got 1% of that chiefdom that will go to capital projects in those provinces or the chiefdoms. We've got a 0.25% that will go to NEMA to improve medical service delivery. You know, NEMA has been having challenges of late, so we want to make sure that they have steady financing that will help them to provide the services they need to provide. After all, in the health sector, what we want to do is to promote primary medical service delivery. So it is at a community level where a lot of things should be done, not at UTH or at levy, no. So then we've got another 0.25%. We want to introduce a pension a pension for our parents in the rural areas, those who are who we used to call peasant farmers, to make sure that even when they are of age, when they reach 65 and so, there's a steady pension that is coming from NAPSA. It will be in conjunction with NAPSA. Then also what we want to do, since we have said we are looking at transforming this country and setting up these strategic operations, massive employment opportunities will be created. But there are two institutions, the one for agriculture and the one for construction engineering, where we train people through ZNS. So after we train them, then they go to these institutions. But where are we going to get the money? So I'm sure last time you saw the Party in Power introduce voluntary training as ZNS. It's an issue of where to get resources to train people. So for us, we've got from that Chiefdom Development Fund, there's a 0.25% that will be allocated specifically to training people into ZNS. And that money will be administered at the chiefdom stroke provincial level, which means they have to choose their own people there and train them. Then they get deployed into this institution. But I'm also very big about technology and innovation. So another 0.5% will go towards one of the institutions called the National Technology and Innovation Corporation, where we want to invest in research for Kellys. Rwanda is doing something. TZ is doing something. After the innovation in the engineer, Rwanda bapanga ndege zabo manje. It's a Zambia, there's no story that we've built on to ensure that we can also raise the bar and get a good reputation for ourselves. So we'd want to do something so that then Zambia can be put on the map. We've got a lot of resources. I'm sad that in the past we had students who were making vehicles. We've got minerals that we can use in electric vehicles, but nothing is happening. So we want to make sure that we invest in that area. So maybe my background in engineering will need to come and work now to transform this country, because it is engineers who transform. It's not accountants. It's not economists. It's not these other qualifications that I have. These are backup. But engineers are the ones who transform nations. So that background should work. The president of China is an engineer. Maybe that's why he's managed to transform that country. He invested a lot in the young people. So most of the times you hear Kellys from my mouth.
And Angela Merkel was one of the most successful in Germany, was a physicist.
A physicist, yes, you see. So you hear most of the time I'm talking about the youth. It's because it's about the transformation agenda that we have. So for me, my vision is to transform this country, reach a point where we begin to export solutions without leaving anyone behind. And just talking about high level also, we need to build our own citizen billionaires. So we are going to set up one institution called the Mining Investment Agency, which we are going to use now to build our own citizen billionaires. We need to have our own Elon Musk. We need to have our own Bill Gates. We need to have our own Jeff Bezos, so that we can kind of drought. So when I have such as a president, I don't want to stress so much. I just call Kellys, your status said, please, Tiguri Ministry for 4 provinces. You are going to buy, because you know that the government has built you, you become a national asset. But when we talk about discipline and change of attitude, the Zambians not going to fight you, Kellys. So we need to tell the Zambians that when we've built Kellys as a billionaire, it's not a part of Democratic Union, it's a state asset. In case after serving for 30 years, another party comes, then they need to embrace you.
Now, sending those messages on radio,
yes.
It doesn't have as much obstacle as it would be if you're on the ground.
Yes.
And to that effect, the question I'd like to ask you is, I've heard from political players that the political playing field is not even. You know, that the route that we have covered so far has indicated that there's been application of the law has indicated double standards and stuff like that, and such an atmosphere cannot guarantee free and fair election. What is your comment on that?
I think that statement is correct prior to the campaign's opening. I think we had an experience where we wanted to hold a rally in the Eastern Province, we were refused. So I think in the past that was the experience, but I think after the campaigns have opened, I haven't heard of anyone has been refused to hold a rally. Even before the campaigns, I think people were able to move around, except one incident in Chipata where they were stopped. But it's because ECZ had issued an instruction to say that campaigns need to cease on the 19th. So in the past, I think in the last 4 years, it's been a bit difficult for us to have rallies. That is very true. But does that mean that we don't have free and fair elections? Because I think the election that we'll be looking at is from the time we were validly nominated up to the end. So we've been given that ample time. So maybe the institution like ECZ can defend itself to say, at the time we opened the election, we've given them, these people, ample time, and there's no major complaint to say they were denied of an opportunity to campaign. But we know that in the past we are talking about the shrinking democratic space where we even at the UN rapporteur. But now the environment, I think, has changed. It has shifted. It's giving everyone an opportunity. Except I know we have isolated incidences of violence, which I think would love to appeal to the Zambians to be peaceful. You never hear me and HH fighting, or me and Mundwile fighting. No, we don't fight. Why should you fight, you people? Us, when we meet, whether this one is from the other camp, we laugh, we even share ideas. We tell them that this thing you are doing, us have got an alternative. So this is how we would love the political campaigns to be managed by the citizens. Even you citizens have got that responsibility to manage these campaigns. You do not engage yourself in violence because of different political party affiliation. So for me, I've stated before, Kelly's, that I believe ECZ has got the capacity to deliver a free and fair election. Why do I say so? When there were by-elections in Kawambwa, I condemned ECZ the way they conducted themselves. But when we participated in the Pambashe and Petaoke by-elections, they conducted themselves very well and very professional, and I commended them for that. And based on that experience, I've said ECZ is capable of giving us a free and fair election, unless they decide not to. They just decide that Stephen Agmipa's free and fair election, then that can be, that is a different scenario.
So you satisfied so far?
Yeah.
Well, listeners, this is Capital FM 99.7, and this is your host Kelly's Calendar Central Station program that comes every Friday. And today I am hosting Mr. Hakim Njovu, a presidential candidate. He has demonstrated to you that he's ready and his party is ready. And now I'm going to give you an opportunity to engage with him and ask him questions either by phone or by calling the following number, 077 3792 475. 077 3792 475. So you can give us a call on that line or send a text message. Now we've talked extensively about your manifesto, the political environment, ECZ, and all those aspects of the election. Let me just take you away a little.
Yes.
From that, because you're a political leader,
yes,
so you must be able to comment on a number of issues.
Exactly.
There's one protracted issue in this country that we've had,
yes,
regarding the burial of the late president.
Yes.
And you heard the Supreme Court of South Africa deliver,
yes,
the ruling to the effect that the family has got the right to decide how they bury their loved one. Can you just give us some commentary on this briefly?
Okay.
Before I take in any callers.
All right, thank you so much. So for me, like I've stated before, there's no winner and there's no loser in this, except that we've got lessons to learn from this whole experience. Lessons in accountability, lessons in humility, lessons in forgiveness and reconciliation, as well as the great lessons for us, especially as the future leaders. If you look at where the matter is right now, the Supreme Court granted the custody of the body to the family and the authority to bury it, and the government not also appealing. For me, that's a positive step. There's quite a lot that we can talk about, but at this particular point, I don't want to blame anyone. We have been making appeals in the past that the two parties could sit down and also come up with a position. But also, I believe that even us as opposition leaders somehow failed in our duties by not being part of the discussions. Maybe we could have played an important role to help resolve this matter. So at this particular time, I think the family has been given the opportunity to bury. But as a citizen of this country, ECL, Kelly's, to be a president is a sacrifice. There's a lot that we sacrifice. There are people that we save. He lived here. I would have loved that he's buried in this country, so that the people like some of us who appreciated what he did in one or the other, he could have had his own mistakes, but would love to appreciate a president who sacrificed his life for 7 years for us, to ensure that we pay the last respect to him. I know the delay, others will blame the government, others will blame the family and all that, but the issue is that now we've reached at a point where we can have this matter settled. So what is the next step? What is required to be done? For me personally, I would have loved that he's put to rest in this country, but I'm sure maybe there's a likelihood that he could be put to rest in South Africa, because already there are certain parties who do not want to reconcile and make progress. They've already started making statements, if you look at social media, to say that the ruling in South Africa does not apply in this country until it's domesticated. So those are issues, I think, that still give room for arguments, which are not necessary. We could have resolved, since the president at some point said, okay, if that's the desire of the family that I should not attend, I'm open not to attend. Maybe we could have used that opportunity to say, let him be buried here. But now we don't know what the family would decide. Because I think we have put a lot of pressure on the family. I think they need to have some rest and peace. Yes.
If you just joined in, this is Capital FM 99.7, and I'm hosting Mr. Hakim Munjovu, who is participating as a presidential candidate in this year's election. And the number to call is 0773 792 475. 0773 792 475. Let me go back to to the issue of campaigns. Yes. One of the features that becomes visible every time there's an election, yeah, in its public rallies, and political parties invest a lot, yes, in crowds. And even the visuals that they show, yes, crowds mean a lot. And there's a lot of debate, on the merits and demerits of having crowds and stuff like that. Yes. What's your thoughts about that?
The good thing about rallies, okay, they steer the mood, but that does not translate into votes, because many people come there for different reasons. Sometimes people come to watch musicians, or some would want to put a face to the name.
Sorry, Mr. Joe, we've got a caller. Okay. Let me take this caller. Please, caller, tell us your name and where you calling us from.
Hello.
Hello, please, caller, go ahead.
Sorry.
Tell us your name and where you calling us from.
I'm calling from Lwaka province.
Please go ahead with your question.
Just calling me up from Lwaka province.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Mwashibukeni bonse, papane bonse, ba president chizeni na ba journalist.
Please go ahead. Mkwe.
Like my concern, my contribution concerning what the president said.
Yes.
Hakim Munjovu.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, that line dropped. So, yeah, you. Oh, there's another caller. Please, caller, tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, sir. How are you, Mr. Joe?
I'm well, thanks, Bachelor Family Shan.
Yes, I know we are following you, sir. I'm calling you from Chiranga.
Yes, please.
I've got a good question for you, but on the behalf of the Zambian people, I need you to answer me this question, sir. You are speaking so well. I'm picking the question of Mr. For Walungu family. May he so rest in peace. What about if the government, the family say that, okay, they want to bury in Zambia, and the family doesn't want the president to be there? Who will reduce the flag on half mark? Who will declare that the flag should fly half mark?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes. The question is clear.
Yes, sir. So again, we are following you, and at the end of the program, sir, you should you should share us for your number. We need your number.
Okay.
We need to discuss background.
Okay. He will share the number. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chief. Any text message? So, Mr. Njo, please make a comment on the question that was asked in terms of the flag.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's sad that we lost that caller from Liverpool. I would have loved to hear their comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Chilufya is asking to say if the family wants to bring the body here to come and bury in Zambia, then who would declare in short, he's saying who would declare the national mourning. So definitely it is the president. So maybe you wanted to know whether the president can declare national mourning if he is not part of the funeral. Yes, he can declare that, but that doesn't mean that if he's not attending, he can't declare. He still declare, maybe he will declare for 3 days or for 1 day, the same day that the burial take place. So he's the one who's going to declare, and once he declares that, then the flags will fly at half-mast. So it is the president who's going to declare.
Okay. Let me ask you a question that I didn't ask you.
Yes.
One of the debates that has been going on during this period has been about opposition unity.
Yes.
That if you have all these opposition leaders, believing in themselves and seeking the presidency,
yes,
instead of coming together, that signals opposition disunity.
Okay.
Just what is your commentary on that?
I don't think it signals the opposition disunity. It also speaks to the different visions that we have. Imagine you are united under one person and then people start saying your president doesn't have a vision. That means the opposition collapses. So when one president doesn't have a vision, you have got other alternatives to look at. Sometimes it's also the issue of ideas and the ideologies, Ideologies, if the ideologies are different, why should you come together? For example, if somebody supports capitalism and the other one communism or socialism, why don't you want them to run like that so that you've got a choice? You pick what you want. Then depending on who the majority pick, then they become the president. Then also the experience has been that when you started calling for opposition unity, there was a bit of selfishness. When you call for opposition unity, what needs to happen is that opposition presidents need to come together and then say, okay, now let's choose one leader. But most of the time is that the leaders would say, we want to be united. What they are actually saying is that come and support me. They've already chosen themselves to be the ones to lead. And then that cannot be unity. You cannot be unity when you've already made up your mind that I just want to be the president. All I want is somebody to support me. I just want others to come and support me.
But Mr. We're talking about ideologies.
Yes.
Do you really think there are ideological differences, or the opposition parties, simply have, this program and that program, but in terms of ideological orientation, it's largely the same. Maybe there's a misunderstanding of what
the other issues. Maybe let me be frank. The other issues are more values as well. If you look at the predisposition of some leaders, is that when they win power, they want to come and arrest the incumbents. Some of us don't subscribe to that. For me, I'm preaching, I want unity and healing for the land.
But that's not an ideology.
Yes, now I've moved on to values and where these guys are standing. Some of them, that's what they want. But some of us don't subscribe to that. I don't believe that when we take over power, we should start persecuting another camp. Imagine we are looking at other people who we perceive have been persecuted. Then we take over power. We can start persecuting others. Start wasting time on the persecutions. When are we going to focus on national development? So those are some of the issues that they differentiate us. Others would say, we just want to remove this guy. That's all. For me, I'm saying, is this just about removing this guy? Or it's about giving us your vision? What is your vision? What do you want to come and do? For me, I've told you that I want to come and transform this country by setting up strategic operations so that we come and change the face of this country, then when we have invested quite a lot in technology and innovation, we start exporting solutions of this country. This is my vision and my plan for the country. When we do all these things, then we're going to have enough employment opportunities. We're going to be able to address the issues of cost of living and that. But if somebody also ambition is just to remove this guy, then what next? We may remove them and maybe not solve the problem, because the problems that the Zambians want addressed are issues of the high cost of living and employment issues. Those are the issues that they want to resolve.
So the thing is, there are no ideological differences.
I don't think largely there are no ideological. Yes,
it's just some of these approaches.
Yes, approaches and just the predispositions or how people position themselves and what they want after that. So those are some of the issues that we're looking at.
One of the things that is very prominent in our political system is that just about every political party that has come into power has been able to look back and has been able to pick on some politicians for persecution or prosecution, even former heads of state. To what extent do you think that UPND has fared in that regard?
I think I'm sure you've heard the leaders from Tonse say, when we win, we'll come and remove everyone. So which means they feel their leaders have been persecuted. So maybe that answers the question, to say they feel that the leaders have been persecuted.
What about you? Haven't they persecuted them?
Some of them have been persecuted, especially those charged under the seditious practices. But those who went maybe to the financial crimes, they could have committed those offenses. So it's not everyone who has been persecuted. The ones I would deem persecuted are those ones charged under the seditious practices, maybe like the SG and others. Maybe those ones, yes, would agree that they've been persecuted. But those charged under the financial crimes, they had an opportunity to present evidence, to dispute the charges before them. But maybe they failed to do that. So that cannot be labeled as persecution. So for me, what I'm saying, that's why when we say the Democratic Union is the best option, because we are neutral, we are providing that neutrality. For me, I'll be able to work with any other from the opposition. I'll be able to embrace the ruling party and say, come, let us work together now. This is an opportunity, especially that the next president is the 8th president. 8 means new beginnings. So new beginnings, you need to look at a fresh leader, somebody who is new in the game. But if you are getting the order and want to make it new, it doesn't work. So this is how we want to look at politics. So opposition unit has been a bit of a difficult issue, because the agenda maybe do not also serve the national interest. Why are people calling for that unity? It's only that because they want to say we remove this one. They're not saying that because of your idea, because of this one's idea, when you come together, I think Zambia can actually benefit.
Have you been approached by any opposition party to say, please, can you come together, or have you taken that step yourself?
Yes, we have engaged with quite a number of them.
Like?
Yeah, we've engaged with Tonse. I'd engaged both Tonse, then also the People's Pact. We engaged. Which other one? I think, and also the orange one, the CF
so
orange
which one.
Which one
are you part of?
Yeah, we are not part of any at the moment.
Why is that?
At the moment, I think we look at the ultimate goal of serving the Zambians. Any alliance that we must go into must serve the interests of the Zambians. For me, I want also to look at the vision. But Kellys, I won't just come to you to support you, maybe because you are famous, or maybe because you have got a lot of resources. I want the vision. I want to be part of a team that is going to leave a great legacy. But if I feel that your team won't leave the great legacy, then I will hesitate. Yes. It's about leaving a legacy. Great leaders have left legacies, like the KKs, the Mandelas, those who have served their country selflessly. That must be something that we must see in you. And you know, sometimes how I love to have meetings with people. I love to have face-to-face meetings, so that our spirits speak to each other, so that I know whether you are lying or not. My spirit will tell me that this guy is lying. Yeah, he's deceiving you. Then you will be able to know. What I want is, I want to have an opportunity, when I'll be given an opportunity to save this land, whether alone or with other people. We know that we are our ultimate goal is to the interest of the country. We want to beautify this country, want to change it. Yeah. There was a time, on a lighter note, I bought a discovery from South Africa. when I brought it here to register it in Zambia here, they told me they changed the service cycle. They said you need to come after 5,000 kilometers. I said no, but according to the records there and what I was told in South Africa, it's supposed to be 25,000. Said no, the environment there in South Africa and here it's different. Here it's a dusty place. So that touched me, Kelly's. Said okay, so we are living in a village in a dusty environment. So now living in a dusty environment, it means even us ourselves are not safe. Well, there are health concerns that we must raise. If we raise the concerns on the car, what about ourselves living in a dusty environment? So there's a lot of work that has to be done. So based on some of these experiences, I know exactly what I want to come and change. I know exactly what I want to come and achieve. Yes. Yeah.
So if you've just tuned in, this is Capital FM 99.7. And the number to call on this program is 0773 792 475. 0773 792 475. You can call us or send us a text message. Mr. Jove, let's talk about the printing of ballot papers and monitoring, because this has been going on in just about every election.
Yes.
And ECZ has said that listen, if you as political parties want to come along, please buy your own tickets. Let's take in this caller. Please, caller, tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm listening to the program, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like the example. This is Blessings from Lusaka, sir.
Yes, sir.
I like the example the man gave about South Africa.
Yes.
Are you getting me, sir?
Yes, very clear.
I was in South Africa. I was staying in Rustenburg. Now, upon coming to Lusaka, Zambia, I saw different. I agree with the man. I cried. It was my first time to enter South Africa in 2017. I cried, sir. I said all these presidents who have been coming in Zambia, they have done nothing. If you have never been in other nations, sir, you can praise Zambia. I agree with the man in the studio right now. This man is talking about unity and passion, sir. I salute you. You are not a politician, you are a leader. Because I see passion in you. Passion to change Zambia. Not to promise. This time, sir, we are not going to vote people with fake promises. We want people who speak reality. What you are saying, it is reality. That is in the ground. Not wherever one piece of paper, background to the body. Sir, I salute you. You are a leader. You are not a politician. You are a leader. You are a leader. To arrive at 2021, this time to be very careful. That's why one day radio, I thought Papa open. I thought Papa open radio. One day, you have that heart, sir. If South Africa can develop, Rwanda can develop, what about Zambia? So, Arabon Sabesa to Bunga 50 quarter chanchan, this time no more. People want to come by reality like the way we can be. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Have a blessing. You know, as you comment on this one, I just want you to put this at the back of your mind. Oh, we've got another caller on the line. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, please, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes, this is William Ngenda from Lusaka, Bowden.
Yes, Ngenda, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Is it Akim Anthony Njovu?
Yes. Good morning,
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Wangenda.
Yes, let me use Chinyanja.
Yes.
Yes, Akim Anthony Njovu. Nifunda muchiteko explain bantu. Kuli bantu benango. Nikakamba some people sibonse kuli benango bakamba no baisize disibali fair po usama wa opposition akuti bashite sponsor abantu bakwenda shita observe my election so beve baona mongati maybe ni mingala tukai abantu bambira bazi batipendi ni ya mingala so benango atawe no ba UPND ni ba mingala to chabwera bwanji lero so nifuna muze ko baja benango maybe mu 2021 sibenzo konka benzoenda che kwenda vote process ya ile yaba ECZ spies bamwe maendera kozi imwe ba Hakim Anthony Njovu na ma leaders benango beba leading vipani vinango vasala baziba tukuli kushita so endi benango bali no zijandama zibamalipira za nomination fees shani ma president quite alright apa bana chita benzo wanachita fao in ma nomination papers na banalipira ma fees benze 25. So when you do 25 times 100 you do times 100,000, it's 2.5 million. That's kwacha. That's kwacha. Then convert it in dollar. Iza kupasani zingati. Maona ka? Then kuja kwemu yendo chita print ma ballot papers. How much is per ballot? How much per ballot? Then you do it in dollar, but kuno mwipenda mkwacha. Then the transport, the ticket from here to Dubai, it's how much? You convert it into dollars, not munani. So I think for me, sembe chimangalako izi bakimu mukabwerako mupao mwensako kupushingako malamulo yako bati ma ballot papers mu printing irako koza pasitinga chiteko ndemba UPND oroba ICZ kozi ichi chankala nchakudala mpiefu chenzemo bacheta ko malamulo yako bati muzichinjana china wa South Africa hapa ni pafupi basaubenga ba South Africa nga bana ma election muzambia mwashita print kozi ndama je mwendo printing ina ma ballot ku Dubai. Mungagure ma machine ma printers kuno mwasakira na bantu banga printing ma machine mugura buno bwino mwashita invest all ma machines ya bidi. So why not kuchita ndrama zemwendo printing na ku Dubai mwashita invest mugura ma machines musi printing na muno so that when it comes into time ya ma election baku South Africa baku printing irani ngani yanu ma election then South Africa na even ngabana ma elections imo Mzambia ndimo ma printing ira so that kaja kaiba ndoma kama no abani makadazi abani bachani kaja ka doubt kama nkaramu so that mushita chase swap cause if tare manavu vakuti always ku Dubai indra mono ngandama zambiri maningi.
Mr. Ngenda, could you also give another caller the chance? I think your point is loud and clear.
All right, bye-bye. Have a good day, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ngenda. Okay, if we don't have another caller on the line, I would like you to quickly respond to those questions in a minute because we are in the dying minutes of the program. But we have another caller on the line. Caller, please go ahead. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, please. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, thank you. This is Uncle Darius. Come on, himself. I'm calling the Denusaka.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Makamaka kanyama is there. Sewa kanyama is.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Kwa guest mwashuke ni mwaboka boti mzuri chwane mwaboka burongo mwakata.
Mwakata botu tulika botu. Toka buya.
Zambia wa nation.
Yeah, uziko.
Yeah, my brother, to tell the truth, you explained very well. I personally am comfortable with you because you need people like you. Me, I belong to UPND. I'm a real supporter for UPND, okay? But vintu vamene mukamba ni vintu vimoza uti even my youth sise vingatipeleke pasogolo ise nchito yatu whether chili mu government nchito yatu pamene chili mu ruling party ni kumvela ma views yachoka ku bantu bali panja because bantu bali panja it's just like muti ya bomba ise chili panja timaona ma mistakes ya ma players palibe player ali 100% kuli bonse afunika. That's why kumankala coach panja ndiye nchito ya coach kulanga na kuti uja player vamene apanga ni mistake even ma substitute bama panga bali panja because wamaona mistakes. So na vela moshe vamene mulondolola ndiye bantu vamene timafuna people like you giving even the government checks and balancing, not always apart from kushautana, apart from criticizing. Because look, my brother, if you remember, resting in peace basatana mama nawasa na barupia banda politics yabarupia banda na vamene mukamba enze time oja kudala ndiye real politics yauti nango muntu abwera ni leader ashite explain vintu weza kuti munkale mbwele ma president mulefo ko ba president pa kwisansi fwebo tulishi bokwe bati fintofo balela birafidya nga nabu tukokwe bati nawo fwa bachite bolefo ko ba president mwisho kubutuka before fidya fya kale fya pitire mwisho fintofo nale mfokwe bati nga bara birokwe bati mwisho ama yosite kurwa nebo tapali nturu bundi mwebo mwaka nyamwebo naife pa kwisa mukuvota pa kupwilikisha mwisho twakonke fintu ofu mulanda mwisho noti fintu fya kulanda chabe fintu ati tafiko tene nchitono muntu tete mfwe mwisho visho mulera bilana ngo president aka inde chirama mwisho kumwika likapata kai kali fintu ofu ndera bila fili lero line mwisho kumitorano kweba timwebo twamupera opposition so chikalamba I government ishi kwete opposition government ishi kwete bantu bakutungurusha mwebo fintu fira bipamwebo nango opposition tamukwete mwe efiro musango kwebati government mwisho nango ya chite fifyonse filifyo because bonse baliti yesi mwisho tukuputulo muje yesi mwisho namoro tuputule yonse kusumina chabe eza muleleke twalumba mdala mwimbiri ikutuisha
Twarumba yapati
ayema muyuma mutajogeri wawa nango chibebutika tuyanyo government amwipe checks and abambirwe atwambirwe I rest my case.
Okay, thank you so much. You're very passionate. Thank you so much.
Twarumba witima za uru what Darius.
Yeah. All right. There's a text message that I need to read. Please keep those phone calls coming through. A list of my producers given me 15 more minutes. So please keep them coming through and your phone calls. Let me just repeat the number. The number to call is 0773 792 475. 0773 792 475. There's a text message, Mr. Njovu. It says, in terms of national debt, who has borrowed more money between the PF and UPND?
What's the name of the guy? Is there a name?
No, there's no name. There's
just text.
number.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so please, as we're waiting for more phone calls coming through, please make a comment on this and answer this question.
All right, maybe I'll start with a text. According to the statistics that we've been availed to us, it appears the UPND has borrowed a lot because we are looking at being at over, is it 20? About
as you're answering that, let me just read this text message. That as we are voting for HH7, we are voting for free education, we are voting for employment, we are voting for CDF, and peace we are enjoying. This is from Cliff Siabona, and I think we've got a caller coming through. Just to hold your thoughts so that we can take this caller. I think you can just take my notes. So caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Please go ahead.
Kuna mwentungulushi ifyomulelanda turefu kuchika bwino sana pamunga ba Ati Munjovu the president GU turefu konka bwino sana. Ukulanda kwesu nangula ukusosa kwesu nokulanjira kwechale cha Zambia pamunga ma youth. Intungulushi ilo mulekita explain file mfuka bwino sana. Lelo ukulanda kwenta file mfuapo umuntishanya nangula umuntishati nani pamulandu wa ma programs yo mkwete pamulandu nekumulekita explain Zambia n'intungulushi shonse. File mfama different political parties ifi balelanda ifi bale sosa. Then the most of the time stadionse balelanda pepa fyo abanabo yonga twaisa twala chitefi nga twaisa twachitefi no ba ukusta explain ifi mulekita explain pamonge chalo ebutungulushi bulefai kwa pachalo cha Zambia because ngakwabo butungulushi bwaifi nishitwaisho kwa Zambia kechive chimotine ngakwabo kwa leader kumulinga muri uyu musango sishina alanjilefyo ni pamulandu wa kutila ilo balekita explain pamulandu wa manifesto nefi balingi okutila bena Zambia nefi balingi okwafa bena Zambia ni pamulandu uwakulolesha pamulandu wa leadership nokumona ifyo balabombera abantu nefi balabombera echalo nokutinja ifintu ifyo Zambia taila bomberwapo mukatika leadership mukatika ntungulushi yonse eshapita then icho balingiro kulolesha uchira mushetu wala fashana bena Zambia nokumona bushe Zambia yala tumpuluka shani muri uyu musango. So Mr. President continue same spirit nokubika pona yandi ama wisdom na knowledge pape mulesosa mamulandu uchila Zambia ili yatumpuluka lesami pale kabla sabe na mapakalamba twali muri uyu musango. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for your wisdom. Please, any of you that want to come through on the program, please feel free to use whatever language you feel comfortable with. So I've got a couple of messages. Let me just read through those messages. Sanjovi is writing, so he's... one message says... the first one says, in Zambia, sir, this time we don't want UPND, the economy is bad. We've got another one that says, you can't ask to say where does the money go. Those nominations, wait a minute. In Zambia, sir, this time we don't want UPND, the economy is bad. The cost of living is poor. We have changed our mind. No. That's one message. The other one is you can't ask you can't ask to say where does the money go. Those nominations fees. We had 25 presidents who paid the fees. You can do 100,000 by 25, 2.5 million. Bear in mind this is in kwacha, but when you're traveling outside buying a ticket, you get it in dollars. So even in printing ballots, there we use dollars, not kwacha. So convert 2.5 million kwacha to dollar, it's $121,000 USD. Otherwise, politics is not for the broke guys. So this is William Mkenda from. So Mr. Njovi is not a broke guy. So another one is that we thank God in Zambia we still have leaders like you. Keep it up, sir. You have my support. Kaizi from Lusaka, Ballaston. Okay, so please, Mr. Njovu, I know there's a lot to respond to. So just be as brief as possible so that we can answer.
So thank you so much, Wakais, for those kind words. Then yes. The other text which said you can't ask where the money goes, politics is not for the broke.
Yeah.
I also answered this. Somebody also asked about why ask political parties to pay?
Yes.
The electoral process, the whole electoral process is funded by the government. You heard when they were presenting the budget for 2026, they had presented to Parliament how much they are going to spend on the electoral process. So it's part of the electoral process that printing monitoring, because that's an aspect of transparency and also integrity of the whole process. So when you say political parties should pay for themselves, that is part of elimination method, where in case none of the opposition members go there, what will happen? There could be a possibility that extra ballot papers can be printed. So that's why you need their presence. So when government is planning for all this, they need to factor that in. And if the government is failing to do that, then they need to move the printing of ballot papers to the country. We've got government printers.
But why can't, realistically speaking, there are so many political parties.
Yes.
Do you want taxpayers to fund all these political parties? I mean, if there are 20 of them...
It would be okay to factor maybe it into the fee that we pay. If they know that the air ticket is 15,000, they could factor that in.
Okay.
Yes, they could factor in that, because we are an important stakeholder in the process. You see, it can happen that extra ballot papers can be printed. The first shipment comes, the other one comes. But
also the problem of factoring that in is that at the time you are buying the air ticket, it would have maybe gone up. So perhaps when they set these fees, could have set them maybe a month or two ago. So isn't it just realistic that
it's not realistic?
If you are going to participate in elections, you must as well have money to jump on a plane and go
one interesting thing. When we had the stakeholder engagement with ECZ, Chris Zumani he asked to say, I think are you then committing to a transparent process if you are excluding political parties, or you are asking political parties to sponsor themselves? Then somebody answered, he said, but this is what you did also in 2021. You are part of the government. So it could be that he has realized that what they did was wrong, because it only started in 2021. In the past, ECZ used to take care of that. So how are we supposed to manage the whole process? It's about the integrity of the process, not really looking specifically at the cost. Me, I'm looking at the integrity. So when we do certain things, that's a problem with us politicians. When we do certain things, we want to disadvantage others. But we forget that after 5 years or after 10 years, you'll be on the other side where you'll be subjected to those things. So there are things that have come up to show that decisions that were taken, because quite a lot changed in 2021. A lot changed in 2021, which the opposition now are saying should be reinstated, which means it wasn't done in good faith.
So
but
ECZ is simply carrying forward the decisions that were made in 2021.
Yeah, which now others, those who made them, are now contesting them, which means they were not done in good faith. Because us are looking at the bigger picture, not the cost. The bigger picture is that we want integrity of the whole process. So they need to be players to witness that. And the government can spend a little. To run an election, it's not expensive. It's not cheap. So which means government had already prepared. Sometimes they even receive donor funds to use for the election process.
So in this case, who is supposed to go? Those that are participating in the elections?
Yes. The 14 presidential candidates are supposed to send representatives.
Okay.
It's not us to go, but representatives, just to ensure that the whole process is transparent. It's just about transparency. So when we are not there, it's an issue of transparency being compromised. So that's what we want. So if the people say ECZ is what politics broke, no, it's not about being broke. It's not about the cost. It's not about that. It's about transparency. It's about doing the right thing. So that's why we want to say that. Okay, I've already answered Wakeza. Then I've answered this one. We don't want UPND cost of living. Okay, that is understood. Yes, I think those are the general concerns of everyone, the cost of living. Then Bamwewa, thank you for those kind words. I think I won't comment much. I think he presented his contribution and says he's very happy with how we've presented. Thank you so much. Then Wycliffe says is voting for HH for free education and CDF. That's okay. Free education, I also support free education, but I would love to take it to tertiary, because by grade 12 ukasiza grade 12 ningakuchita employer as a garden boy. Uzaindo sebenza good kulibe. So we need to make it more meaningful by extending it to tertiary. So that's what we need to do. Otherwise, the free education is very good. Benefit. We know some of our parents who even went to London under free education. So I know others condemn free education, but for me, free education is good. We'd want ourselves we want that free education. We'd love to do free stuff. Imagine how much is going to save these 5 professions, except one was free because it was paid for by the Air Force. But these others I had to pay from my own pocket.
Well, I mean, in a number of European countries, because I served in diplomatic service, I can speak to the fact that a lot of governments out there, provide free education up to university level.
You see.
And the reason for that is that when you invest in human beings, human beings are the agents of development.
Yes.
So governments do that as the baseline.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that then you have a country of
and for me, you see, if we won't manage to do for everyone, I've identified 4 areas like engineering, agriculture, mining, and technology. These 4 have to be made free, higher education. So that then, if we have to talk about transformation, we need people who are ready to do that. And also, if we can educate a lot, you see, one thing that we need to look at building our curriculum so that the people that we produce in the country, we can export them. If you look at countries like Japan, even in Europe, the people are there, most of them are elderly. They won't be needing young people to work in those countries. Why can't then government strike a deal to say, us have got a well-trained force, can you pick some? Can we send you 1,000?
Do you remember that when President Hakainde Hichilema, shortly after he was elected and was addressing a parliament in the EU Parliament.
Yes.
One of the aspects of his speech, the issue that he addressed, was this illegal migration across the Mediterranean, where we are losing a lot of African young people.
Yes.
He proposed something. He said, listen, we can talk. We have a lot of young people that we can educate and export to these economies.
Yes.
So that you do away with this issue of illegal migration. I thought that after he said that, that Zambia was going to deliberately, embark upon that. Now you are saying that's the kind of thing that you want to do.
Yes, I would love that. But you remember there was a talk at one time where they said the degree orders at University of Zambia Zambia, equivalent to a diploma, something like that. There was that talk some time back from the UK. So we need to look at our curriculum to say, does it meet international standards? Because we need to be ready, we need to be prepared. At least some of us have studied the courses from UK, so which means we are marketable there. But what about others who are studying local? How do we help them? For me, that's the thing. Some time back, I remember when we were in Livingstone, I grew up in Livingstone, a lot of teachers were going to Botswana to go and teach there. So why can't we train a lot of us? Because it's not possible that even with the creation of 4 million jobs that everyone will be employed. There will be others who will still be unemployed. So how are you going to tackle
I only have a few seconds.
Oh, okay. Now,
there's only one question that I'd like you to speak to.
Yes.
Within a few seconds.
Yes.
And this question is, if a voter listening now is undecided between the UPND, the Tonse Pamosi Alliance and other opposition parties, the question is, what is the strongest reason why they should place their trust in your political party? In just a few seconds.
Okay. The truth is that Democratic Union wants to bring a new start. We believe in an in a reset for the country, economically, politically, socially, and spiritually. So we want to come and reset this as we are preparing for the transformation of this country. I've talked about the method, but this is what we want to come and do. We need to reset, new beginning, new ideas, new everything. That is what we want to come and do. At least you have tried others before, you know them. You don't know us. We are promising a fresh start.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Njovu. I wish I had all the time in the world. This has been a Central Station hosted by Kelly's Calendar every Friday from 10 hours to 11:30. And my guest was Mr. Akim Aton Njovu.
Oh, you wanted to ask for the number?
The Democratic Union Party president. There's someone who asked for the number. So if you're listening, Mr. Njovu, I'm giving you an opportunity. Please share the number.
Okay, so you can reach me on 0960 708770. 0960 708770. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Njovu. Our topic was can the opposition convince Zambia? So until next week on Friday, when I bring you yet another interesting candidate. Thank you so much to Wamba on the controls and my producer, Lucy Nambela. Enjoy your weekend.